There are dozens of students this spring who attend the Broadcasting Arts program. More than last fall, this program prepares students for entry-level employment in broadcasting industry. Students learn the history of broadcasting, directing, editing, television production, music video, and all radio television technical operations, as well as the areas of individual interest, including film and drama.
In broadcasting history, both in news and in fictional shows,
exercise that mind.
if you're thinking about TV or even in radio, but also going forward in vlogs and blogs. Drama always plays a big role because they try to wrap stories around, like I said, whether they're documentary or they're fiction, they're always wrapped around some dramatic conflict. So drama shapes the story. They need a way to tell a story and they wrap it around some dramatic moment.
The way I do because it's me. It's my way of expressing myself. It's my artistic expression. It's just the colors that I like, etc., etc. I feel comfortable in it, and it's just me. Fashion means to me kind of like how people express the way through art or through however the way they feel like expressing themselves. It's just a way of communicating to the world.
I dress the way I do because I think black is a wonderful color. I like the vinyl because it's shiny mixed with black. I see black as kind of the supreme color because it's a mixture of all the colors, and I think it encompasses everything that is really the epitome of nature. Because you look out in space, everything is black except for the stars.
Because I can, and because it's a lot funner than the mainstream dress. Fashion doesn't really mean a whole lot to me, as in the wider fashion in quotes, I suppose. But it means dressing up in a way I enjoy. Most of my social life is in the goth scene, and so if I didn't dress this way, it probably would affect it.
My name is Amelia Von Lee, and I'm 23. I dress the way I do because it's in my soul, and it's what I really am. It's also due on culture, art, as well as literature. I love the way that certain materials feel on me, such as vinyl. I love the feel of vinyl. I love the feel of rubber, clothing on me. I love Demonia. They're very, they're very comfortable boots. They're very comfortable. They're very fashionable.
Walking around the town, you feel all eyes on you, like everybody's attention turns, they stop doing what they're doing. You could just see the emotions on their face. It's almost like racism, like it's people judge you on who you are on the outside. They don't judge you on who you are on the inside. The fear, anger, just confusion.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You have to take, while you're here, you have to take that off, okay?
Are you
Unless
serious?
you go across the street, yeah.
Can you say that on camera?
No.
No, come on, say it on camera.
Hey, dude. No.
There are some people out there who kind of look down on it. They feel uncomfortable or threatened by it for whatever reason that is. And, well, that's fine with me. The way how I see it is that I already have my true friends who do not shun me for the way how I look. And those are the guys that I keep around with me. Those are my true friends. Everyone else.
Because like a lot of people would like look at me, for example, and they'd be like, "Oh, she's in the devil worship and whatever." It's just like, no, I am a very very outgoing type of girl. I don't like sit there and go, "Oh," and like be all like sad and depressed and suicidal and everything. No, that's just not the way it is. I do get harassed, but it all depends on like where and when. Like, I would say probably when I am like going into a real like prestigious type store, like Macy's or something like that. Usually department stores, they like look at me kind of like, who's this? And like I don't have money, or this girl's gonna like rob us or whatever. But it's just usually, and then like when I bust out the credit cards and like the money, they're like, oh, it's just like she means business. So that's pretty much what it is.
The history of broadcasting, of course, almost every program like this starts with somebody with an interest. It wasn't me. There have been a number of instructors before I took it over. The last instructor retired, and because of, again, budget cuts in the state, there was not money to hire a full-time person just in broadcasting. So since I had a background in broadcasting, I took it on and ran film as well as broadcasting, and now we've hired someone, Christy, who is running the production end of broadcasting and film. And she's doing a marvelous job. And all that new equipment you see and the editing facilities and so forth, that's because she's here. So there's a real commitment to her and to the equipment and to the production and DVC broadcasting and film students.
Broadcast students gain a practical experience. This class is a combination of 3 classes, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, that meet together. This class is going to have its own practical experience. Students are going to produce some public service announcements, shows, and news broadcast. For this class, a journey begins in the Media Center where the instructor, Christy Flanagan, is preparing students for this critical experience. Christy, the first full-time instructor for the class in the past more than 8 years, has produced several documentaries and short films, including The History of the Universe as Told by Wonder Woman, Going on 13, which aired on PBS. She is currently working on a documentary about Hurricane Katrina called A Village Called Versailles.
I like to, before our production, just reiterate what everybody's role is so that they know exactly where they're supposed to be. And I really encourage the directors to be in control and be the leaders and to know what everybody's doing and know what everybody's responsibilities are. So I really place the production in the hands of the director so that they can take over from that point.
On the south side of Diablo Valley College is a production studio. Tucked away in the DVC Engineering Building, a mini broadcasting studio is filled with cameras, props, lighting, sound, and other equipment. The head of the studio is Richard Woodruff, a pragmatic old man with his eternal hat.
I give different instructions to different people. To camera people, I tell them to watch their framing, to watch their focus, to make sure that there's nose room, to listen to their director about when they're live and when they're not, to look for interesting shots. Frame it in a way that's perhaps a little unusual. To at least try that. Directors, I often have to tell to spend less time actually watching the show and spend a lot of time trying to imagine what the viewer is going to see and be calling different camera shots. and be readying graphics and all the other kinds of things they need to do.
In our studio, we have somebody who's in charge of the lighting board, and they set lights depending on where our set is, and then in the control room, they have a lighting grid where they can turn on and off different lights and fade them up different percentages. So you can be at 75% or 25% depending on how you want to light the scene. We also have a really important role. They're all important, but this one's pretty vital during production. It's the technical director who's in charge of the switcher. And what they're doing, they're also in the control room sitting with the director, and they're in charge of switching the cameras. So when we're doing our shoots, we suppose that these are going live to broadcast. There's no mistakes. We don't go back and re-edit. And the switcher is really, from the director's guidance, taking camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, fading to black, taking a video, taking graphic. Audio does a couple things. Audio sets the microphones in the studio, so whether it's clip mics or a boom mic, they make a decision about miking strategies dependent on the production. And then they run back up to the control room, and there's an audio board there, and they have to set mic levels, and they also do mic cues. So if sound needs to, like if we have a sound on CD, they need to fade that in and out. They have to do that live during production, and they're taking their cues from the director as well. Teleprompter is needed when we have a script that anchors or hosts are going to read. And their job is to edit the teleprompter and make sure that there's plenty of space and correct punctuation and notes so that the anchors or talent or whomever can read easily. And then they're literally running the speed of the teleprompter, responding to how fast or how slow the talent is reading it. Graphics is also up in the control room, and they are, before production, in charge of getting any graphics that we need for the show and really building the graphics for the show. So they type in the lower thirds, so the titles and names of anybody that's on screen, any websites, any other kind of graphics that we use in our show, and they're cueing those during production from the same area.
Trying to have 3 levels of students in one class is very difficult. It's just challenging. Television production has so many different positions, has so many people doing different things, that it's very difficult for one instructor or one instructor plus myself to keep track of what 30 people are doing. So I'd like to see it broken up a little bit more. This is a terrible budget time to try to do that, but I think that it would be more effective if the beginning, the intermediate, and the advanced students were separated a little bit more. It gets better every semester as is, but I still think that would serve the students a little better.
The television studio is a converted trainer flight simulator. And at the state level, there are plans for a completely new building for it. But given the state's budget mess, it's not likely that will happen anytime soon. We are also had a bond measure passed with a completely new art building where there would be a new television studio, and all of the editing and production as well as the TV studio would be in one building, would be one very large art building, and all the art DM classes as well as TV and film would all be housed in that building. But that's still several years away.
Broadcasting students should leave here with a really good sense of media awareness. They want to understand the messages that are underneath the news and information and TV shows that they watch, anything that comes across their computer screen. They need to understand really what it means. There's so much of it, and they need to be able to sort through it and understand it critically. And I think that's one part of their education. I think the other part is learning how to use the tools and to make their own broadcasts, their own, so they can put their voices out in the world.
Well, my advice for anybody getting into the film industry, whether it's broadcast or independent filmmaking or documentary filmmaking or editing, is really just to get involved with as many projects as you can. You know, you're going to have to work free for a while, and you're going to just have to get that experience. But if you can become known as somebody who's a hard worker, who's super reliable, who knows what they're doing, who steps up to the plate for any task that needs to happen, then you're going to be noticed, and people are going to welcome you on to any set, and you're just going to become invaluable, really. And eventually you'll get hired if you continue along that path, because there are jobs out there in production and post-production. But you do need to get the experience, and the widest breadth of experience you can get on different kinds of productions, doing your own directing and doing your own editing, to then helping out really larger projects, the better off you'll be.
Students leave here with very many different levels of achievement. Some just take a class or two. Maybe they take the production class, maybe they take the editing class. Others take a number of classes, including the writing. They may take 2, 3 production classes. They may take the television classes. So a student coming out of DVC can be quite technically proficient. They may just have gotten the basics, but they're on their way to a career if that's what they want.
With more confidence and more faith in their choice of careers, students take at least one field trip. They participated in 7 Live's Voice Studio audience in San Francisco.
Yes, comedian Carlos Mencia from the Mind of Mencia joins us. Plus, when is Independence Day? It seems like a no-brainer, but some Americans couldn't answer the question. We'll have a civics pop quiz and call it Revenge of the Asians against a UCLA student that went on an anti-Asian rant. All of that is 7 Live continues. Stay with us.
So I think one of the challenges of being a producer is, being a good producer, is being able to come up with your own story ideas, kind of like conceptualize the story and find good people to interview, and just writing a good segment and getting the best video for that segment that you're producing.
Being an intern is kind of self-discovery. You discover a lot about yourself and a lot about the various jobs within the office. So I'd have to say that's the most challenging. You don't always get trained. Sometimes you just have to jump into things that you never did before, deal with equipment you've never dealt with before, especially since a lot of equipment here is outdated. So they have new things and they have old things, so it could be kind of difficult coming in as a fresh face. But everything else is, it's really fun to try.
What can be the average salary for a broadcasting?
Generally, I'd probably say, like I said a little bit earlier, 60 grand and up, depending on the company or the position. So 60 to 70. Production assistants don't really get paid that much. That's the next level above internships. It's kind of the entry level after you've been an intern a couple of places, and that's about 25 to 30 grand or so.
The way I train personally, like people, is by allowing them to be hands-on as much as possible. I feel that's the easiest way for me to learn. So I will tell them kind of the right way, or the way that we do things here, and have them kind of do it on their own with me over their shoulder, and not so much over on top of them, but just like proofing their work and whatnot. And I feel that people that are able to do production work on their own learn a lot faster by doing rather than by telling.